to Half the Battle, and welcome people to Super Bowl Sunday. And since it is such a testosterone-filled day, how about I show you some Deke?
No, the fact an animation company was named Deke will never get old. Ever.
Yes, at long last, we're finally getting back to the Deke series. And it's a very appropriate episode for the football special. So, grab those nachos, chill that beer, and get ready!
It's Pigskin Commandos. We start the episode with Sergeant Slaughter watching a GIJoe cartoon episode. No, really, that's what this looks like.
All right, score another win for the US of A!
He's in New York, visiting his sister, who looks like Guile from Street Fighter for some reason. By the way, the fact that he has a sister, never spoken of before or after this episode. The Sarge is startled by strange noises coming from below. It turns out Cobra are building a secret base in a nearby abandoned subway station. A range viper is reminiscing about his time before Cobra when he played football.
I played quarterback for the Piranha State football team.
When I was 18 years old and scored 4 touchdowns in one game, I became the greatest football player in the history of Polk High.
He claims his team beat West Point when Captain Gridiron was playing there. Gridiron, if you remember from last year, is the insanely football-themed GIJoe leader. It's at that point Slaughter bursts in. Apparently not because they were building a base, but because they sullied the good name of Captain Gridiron. No, really, that's what this looks like. The Rains Viper then manages to capture the idiot by using a gun thing that shoots snake ropes. What the hell? Yeah, that gun was never a toy, by the way, so this is all Deke's insanity we're seeing here.
I should have expected this kind of underhanded trick from a graduate of Piranha State.
Apparently there's a college in America called Piranha State now. I'm guessing it's in Florida.
The Sarge is brought before Cobra Commander, and he goads him into, well, just see for yourselves.
On the other hand, if you Cobra creeps scared to challenge the Joes to an honest game, Gridiron would make mincemeat out of you clowns. Cobra Commander, are you going to stand for these insulting remarks?
Of course not, my dear Range Viper.
Let me get this straight. You're challenging GIJoe to a football game. If we win, the Sarge goes free.
But if you lose, Gridiron, you will become Cobra's prisoner.
And my personal slave. All right, Range Viper. I beat you when I was at West Point. And with a little help from my friends, I can beat you again.
Cobra challenges GIJoe to a football game. A terrorist organization challenges an elite military unit of the United States to a game of football. That's it. Review's over. I mean, how the hell am I supposed to comment on that?
You know, Osama bin Laden is sitting somewhere in hell, and he's just kicking himself, since he could have just challenged SEAL Team 6 to a game of racquetball or something.
This is insane! I mean, I refuse to believe what I'm seeing here! Hey, okay, here's what I think. It's all just a clever ruse by the Joes. They're gonna lure the Cobras into the stadium and then ambush them.
Nope, they are actually playing football.
They are actually playing goddamn football with terrorists. What the hell is in this beer?
So, yeah, they're playing football, with Sergeant Slaughter still strung up in that snake rope. Man, I hope he hasn't had to use the bathroom, or else he's gonna reek. And Cobra is of course getting trashed. Until...
This is is outrageous! Cobra must not lose!
In that case, it's time for Plan B.
All right. Get no snakes, Sergeant.
Ready, set, hike!
What?
They brought an armored division with them. You know, I thought this episode couldn't sink any lower, but after hitting rock bottom, they brought out the shovels, apparently. How the hell did they get a column of tanks there? Did nobody notice a string of terrorist attack vehicles rocking down Fifth Avenue? Oh, and instead of running the Joes over and crushing their enemies once and for all, they actually used the vehicles just to score a touchdown.
Gah! Are there hidden cameras somewhere in this house? Is Ashton Kutcher gonna pop up behind the sofa and kick me in the balls? 'Cause that would make more sense. But guess what? It gets even better.
You see, the Joes, they had actually planned for this contingency, and they dropped vehicles of their own from a plane onto the playing field. Which, I gotta admit, still a better halftime show than the Black Eyed Peas. And so the game continues.
With tanks playing football. And you know the worst part? I can't even feel my temples through this helmet.
You shall not score!
If only the Balrog had just challenged Gandalf to a game of tennis. With the playing field level again, Cobra's getting their ass kicked again. So...
All that means is it's time for Plan C. Grab the bozo and run!
Yeah, so after about 4 minutes of play, they give up. Sorta like the Broncos that one year. They run off, taking Slaughter with them. Gridiron pursues them over land, sea, and air. And I like how Sergeant Slaughter is basically the football now. The bad guys carjack a taxi, leaving Gridiron stranded.
Then this happens.
Wow! Ta-ta, Gridiron!
Hey, you're blocking my pass. Lady J?
Need a ride, hotshot?
By the way, what are you doing here?
I'm going out tonight and I thought I was gonna get my hair done.
I have so many questions.
Like, why wasn't Lady J with the rest of the Joes? Why did she go to New York to get her hair done? Why is she in a frickin' limousine? Did the military pay for that? Or is she, like, independently wealthy? And why did they use Lady J for this and not CoverGirl? She would have at least made a little more sense.
Lady J is supposed to be a tomboy. That movie doesn't count.
So now we have a car chase with a taxi and a limo. And it's actually one of the saner moments of the episode. They catch up to the bad guys and rescue the Sarge. Cobra goes after them, but assault helicopters and fighter jets are no match for a freaking limousine. Figuring they'll give Cobra a fighting chance, they switch to a freaking horse and buggy. All this time, they haven't bothered to untie Slaughter, by the way, even though there's been plenty of time to do that. That's why Gridiron is forced to carry around Slaughter after their buggy gets taken out. It's hit by lasers and promptly explodes. Lasers don't actually do that. And more importantly, a wooden horse's carriage really doesn't do that. Also, looking at this, you know what? I think it's this moment when Slaughter is tied up like a hog, being carried on the back of a horse, that he got the idea to say, "Oh, screw it," and become an America-hating Iraq sympathizer. It was somehow less embarrassing. So, now, can we finally please untie the good sergeant? Nope.
Hey! What's going on?
No dignity for me! And yes, despite having taken no drugs whatsoever, we can all see Slaughter hogtied and being dragged away by a plane with some nutcase in football gear hanging onto him by his boots. I'd mock this some more, but where's the challenge in that? Al Bundy flies over the Statue of Liberty. That's way bigger than it is in real life, by the way, but every movie ever makes that mistake, so it's the only thing I won't hold against this episode. And Gridiron somehow wraps the line dragging them around the torch. Al doesn't notice.
Okay, Cobra Commander, we're on our way. What?
Okay, you know what? This has been bugging me all episode.
How can his mouth have different expressions? It's a frickin' skull-shaped helmet. It should have one setting, angry snarl. And yet, this guy is more expressive than Anakin Skywalker in Attack of the Clones. Anyway, to complete the football theme we've had to endure all day, Gridiron lobs a grenade like a football at the plane, bringing it down. And it ends up dangling off Lady Liberty's arm, even though I'm pretty sure this would break the frickin' statue. So, the good guys win, the bad guys get captured, and Cobra Commander escapes.
And that's the end, right? I mean, we're through with all this idiotic insanity now, right? No, we're not. There's more. There's a coda. There's a goddamn coda.
You see, for reasons that I'm sure are beyond any mere mortal's comprehension, Cobra Commander tries to get into Studio 55, a completely non-copyright infringing version of a famous New York club. And he gets thrown out by the bouncer. Not because he's Cobra Commander, but because the bouncer considers him a freak. That's the joke. Everybody laugh. Why aren't you laughing?
And the real kicker, the Joes show up at the same time.
This is it?
It sure is. You guys had such a rough day. I felt you deserved a night out.
And they just walk past the commander.
We're all just gonna ignore the leader of the world's most famous terrorist organization just sitting there? Yeah, we are. Of course we are. This episode is made of stupid. And that was Pigskin Commandos.
How was it? This is what it must be like to stare into the face of Great Cthulhu. It's pure, unadulterated insanity!
This is one of the most idiotic, painful stories ever associated with GIJoe. And I remind you, we've seen an episode where they fought giant vegetables. Do you now understand why people loved the Sunbow series, but hated the Deke version? And it's not just because of the Bat Guano crazy storylines, though that is a big part of it. It's also the little things. Let me just give you one example. In the Sunbow series, you had the Snowcat. It's a cold weather vehicle, so you only saw it when the Joes went to the Arctic or other freezing places. The Avalanche is also a cold weather vehicle, but in this episode, a bunch of them show up playing football in New York for no goddamn reason other than, well, they had a toy to sell, whether it makes sense or not. In conclusion, this is a horrible, horrible episode, but through sheer insanity, it does swerve into so bad it's good territory. so you could watch it just for that.
Just make sure you're either really high or really drunk when you're doing it. I'm getting there, but I'm gonna need a lot more to forget this one. If I survive the alcohol poisoning, I'll see you next time, everybody.